everyone, and welcome to another episode of Kink, the Wellbeing Podcast. My name is Georgie, and today I've had the pleasure of interviewing Steve Lefebre. He is committed to supporting businesses to be more conscious. He also is a breathwork facilitator and a map of meaning facilitator. He speaks more on both of those subjects in the interview, but he also holds a variety of online groups, men's groups, conscious conversation group, which sounds wonderful. And he's just truly an inspiring and wise man. So I hope you enjoy the interview with him, and I'll look forward to some comments and sharing. Just let me know what you think of it in all. I am new to this podcast and vlog, so I'd be keen to know what you thought about my input. I hope you enjoy, and thank you for coming to see us. Thank you for agreeing to speak with me, Steve. If you could just, for the purpose of our listeners, tell us a little bit about your history and background and where you're at now.
Yeah, well, thank you. First of all, thank you so much, Georgie, just for the opportunity and the invitation, because I think times being what they are, and with the pandemic going around the planet, I just want to acknowledge you for reaching out, because I think the way through this is for each of us to show up and do what we can to support. And my way of doing that, I'm an old guy, Georgie. I'll be 71 years old, and basically an old hippie that's come through that process. And I've had, three major tracks in my life. The most important one's family, and that's I've brought up 5 kids and have a bunch of grandkids and 5 brothers and sisters, and my mom at 95 is still kicking, and so family has always been an important part. The other part of that has been a very strong spiritual commitment to my process, and being born into a family where my father came within 3 months of taking his vows as a Catholic priest. I kind of grew up in a very strong religious, and I'm sure my mother will be sainted, having brought up 6 kids.
Yeah.
But that, and I studied to be a monk for years.
Wow.
I still process being a good Catholic boy. It's the irreverence in me. But that's been and it has, no matter what I've done in my life, that's been the foundation. And then the other part's been business. I've been in business my whole life, and I've created companies, large and small, been a CEO for a long time, building businesses and bringing what I call right livelihood products and process to business. We call that today conscious business. Mm-hmm. And I think that all of my experience has really been preparing me for what's going on right now on the planet. And there's many people like me out there that are coming together. I am on calls daily with people around the planet who are all very committed to creating a lot more love and values into everything that's being done. And so I have a private practice. I work with people online, and both for professionals, CEOs and managing directors and business people, and as well as just individuals, families, couples and stuff like that. So, I'm very much engaged with working with people that really want to do some work. So that's what I've been up to.
I mentioned earlier you have led a multifaceted career, and one of the things that I'm aware of is the breathwork element. Can you go into detail about what that is and how that works?
Yeah. Breathwork is very powerful. It's the most powerful modality that I've come upon. And I used to teach meditation. I used to teach yoga as a young man. I studied with different masters from different traditions, Buddhist, uh, Native American, Hindu, and certainly Catholic. Uh, every one of those traditions works with the breath in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, more than ever, I think that the breath is a wonderful tool for helping people become more present in their life. And when chaos abounds, whether it's within or without, the breath is the one consistent thing that will bring us into a calm and a peace. You know, the breath connects all of us. We're all breathing, including nature.
Yeah.
So it shows us the unity in everything. And I think one of the things this virus is doing right now is waking people up to the understanding that we're all interconnected, we're all interrelated, and we're all interdependent. And the breath is something that makes that very, very real. Now, the breath can be used in so many different ways. And in the Hindu tradition, it's called pranayama. And it excites the energy in the body, it creates a lot of energy. And then how you direct that energy is what the yoga process is all about. Uh, Used as a therapeutic, I work with clients where I use the breath as a way of bringing them deep into self and releasing cellular memory, which is often the source of our disillusionment, our despair, our um, fear.
Mm-hmm.
And breath brings us inside to be able to see and experience that that is simply thoughts. And you can let it go. That's what the exhale is about. The inhale is about breathing in life, breathing in love, breathing in light. The exhale is about letting go.
Wow.
And I think that as we begin to be more mindful of our breath, it serves us in every aspect of life, whether you're in the grocery store buying groceries or being at the gym or whatever. The breath is so inherently uh, important for us to be mindful about. So it's anytime stress happens, I mean, especially right now, because everybody is experiencing stress.
Yeah.
And you know, how do you get out of it? You know, and my first response to that is to get present, get into the moment. Because right now, you know, we're good. You know, I mean, people listening to this in this moment, we're all good. You know, we're breathing. Um, and fear is usually generated by something that happened yesterday or tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, and when we're in present time, and the breath is so vital to finding that place.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any tips or advice for people who haven't really connected with their breath before, and how they might start?
Oh, it can't be simpler, Georgie. I mean, we all breathe,
Yeah.
right? So it's just taking even a few moments to just witness the inhale and the exhale. It's like if you just simply, just for a moment right now, take a full inhale and breathe it to the capacity that your lungs has the capability of breathing in. Just hold it for a moment and then just let it go. You just let it go. And if you were to do that 10 times, you would find yourself in an altered state of consciousness, literally, you
Wow.
know? And so it is the first part of that is just being mindful of it, you know, because it's how we respond to what is occurring in our life that makes our experience of life a misery or a joy.
Yeah.
And to acknowledge that you're going to have misery and joy in your life. And how do we respond to it? Just being mindful, your breath allows you to, if you're feeling something that's not comfortable, like right now, a lot of people are in anxiety, feeling a lot of fear, to just stay with that. Breathe into that fear, breathe into that anxiety or that depression. Just feel where it is in your body that you're feeling it and breathe into it. And feel like on the exhale, just letting it go.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you find is behind the anxiety, behind the fear, behind whatever it is, it's just some thoughts. And as we become better equipped to letting go of those thoughts, you will find that the anxiety will begin to dissipate. Now, that's just one thing, but it's a critical one.
Yeah.
You know,
I,
there's
I
many.
sorry.
No, go
I
ahead.
happen to my generation where we get answers to things so quickly. We've got the internet, and we can get answers from Google or any other kind of drive. And often we find it difficult to sit with our thoughts and give patience. Do you have any advice for us people who like things quickly?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I find that my clients, and I work with a lot of young people only change when the pain gets great enough. So why are we so fast? Why are we so as a culture in the Western world especially, we have mastered getting away from what we're thinking, what we're feeling,
Yeah.
what's going on in what we call the inner life.
Hmm.
So being on a screen from now kids at a year old, have screens in front of them, and it takes us out of ourselves. And that's well and good until it's not.
Hmm.
And now we have a world that is absolutely out of control.
Yeah.
And why? Because we've been so fast. Things are moving so quickly. Technology, where it used to take 2 years to get from A to B, now takes moments.
Hmm.
And that is revving everything up really, really quickly. And we're losing something really important: self
Yeah.
and how we communicate, what our divinity is all about. Um, and so the world is now getting to a point where there's so much pain that this virus now has literally stopped everyone. It's a global planetary pause. Now, granted, people are probably using the internet as we are right now more than ever, okay? But there's an opportunity, there's a portal into the beginning of finding out what stillness can bring. And so, my invitation to you and people that are listening to this is to um, have a little courage and just try sitting and just try breathing. Take a walk, take a swim, you know, make a list of the things that nurture you and spend time in stillness doing them. Um, you'll find that in that quiet and in that pause, you will just begin to light a bit of light into remembering who you really, really are. And that is love. It is the expression, experience of that divine space. It's where joy comes from. It's where truth comes from. It's trusting and having faith. But when we're busy all the time, when we're moving, we don't give thought to any of that. We don't allow that experience to enter until something happens. Breakup of a relationship, you lose your job, you get sick, which is why all that stuff actually exists. Because, like I said, it's only through pain that we begin to have a little bit of compassion for ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
And so that's why these things exist.
Yeah.
You know?
I know from personal experience, looking within and getting to grips with the things that go on inside my head is quite a scary thing, and it does really take patience to sit with your own thoughts, especially, for myself. I have had some, life experiences that haven't been great, and sitting and being with those is quite a difficult thing. Do you have any advice for people who um, who don't feel comfortable sitting with their thoughts, I suppose?
Listen, it's the most important thing that every soul on the planet deals with. And it comes from an interesting place. It comes from a culture that brings us up that there's something wrong with us. I'm
Yeah.
not good enough. I'm not wanted.
Yeah.
Uh, and which just we call that the personal lie, you know. And so being, and I deal especially with executives that are dealing with this, which means that they have a hard time being authentic. We're always afraid of being judged. We're afraid of the things that we perceive about ourselves that are not acceptable, not good. It's all absolute bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to grow to a place where I can be authentic, I can share what I'm feeling, and it's a powerful place. And there's a wonderful book called The Course in Miracles. So I would suggest anybody that hasn't heard of it to take a look at it. It's a very challenging book because it's written from a Christian background, but don't let that get in your way. It speaks the truth. I've been reading it since 1986. Sometimes I can only read a two sentences or a paragraph at a time because it's so profound. But there's in the back of this book, there is something that says about the 10 characteristics of God's teachers, and that's each one of us. And the first one is trust, and it talks about learning to trust and being honest. But one of them is defenselessness, and it's great because as an individual, you can show up being authentic and presenting simply who you are. If somebody else judges that, what does that say about them?
Yeah.
What we are deathly afraid of is intimacy. Into me I see. And when we get comfortable with who we are, which by the way only happens when we process through the pain and challenges of our life,
Yeah.
because always, always on the other side of that is light. There's gifts, there's joy, there's learning. And what we're being thrust into now is the fact that this is not something that we do alone. Everybody has to do their own work, but we do it together. We can create, and communities are being formed all over the planet right now. And the emergence of these communities as they begin to interact and grow, where the sharing of that authenticity, that light, that joy can be supportive of each other. It doesn't mean that we don't challenge each other,
Mm-hmm.
because the challenging where our creativity emerges, our innovation emerges, and every single one of us is unique. Every single one of us has something really, really important to show up in the world and deliver. Our responsibility is to explore what those gifts are, to master them, and then share them. And that's where joy comes from. If you really want to be happy, have the courage to do what in your heart you know you need to do, And that's a challenge. Let me just real quick while I'm here. The 10 characteristics of God's teachers, as mentioned, the first one is trust. The second one is honesty. The third one is tolerance, which we have very little of on the planet. Gentleness, joy, generosity, defenselessness, patience, faithfulness. And the last one is open-mindedness.
Yeah.
We could do a podcast for each one of these because it's an amazing exploration. And as I mentioned, defenselessness is a powerful affirmation. In my defenselessness, my power lies. or in my defenselessness, my safety lies. When you show up authentically, just being yourself, there is no fear. No matter what happens, by the way, no matter what happens, you see many examples of that throughout the world and history of people that really showed up and lived in an honest way. And even though they were crucified, some of them, um,
I find I consider myself an empath, and I spent a lot of my time giving so much to others. I forgot to give to myself, and that was quite exhausting and really took its toll on me. Do you have any advice for us for people who need to find a balance with their generosity to others and generosity to themselves?
yeah, absolutely. There's a wonderful tool that I use called the map of meaning.
Okay.
And you could Google it, the map of meaning. And it speaks to that because it's a mandala. It's and you'll see that there's a center point to it. Matter of fact, let me see if I can. I don't know if you will be able to see it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a mandala, and the center point is your source of inspiration. It is your divine. What is it that connects you with the divine? It could be surfing, it could be dancing, it could be music, it could be helping others, it could be any number of things, but you'll know what it is for you. That's your center point. And then from that, there is being, the tension points of being, in doing. And as a culture, we have mastered doing.
Yeah.
Being freaks people out. Self, as you were just saying, and others, okay? Those are two more tension points. And then there is balancing. What are our values? What are your values? And doing some inner work to assess what those values are for you. Those 10 characteristics that I just mentioned, how important are they in your life? And then how do you show up in them? And the next thing is the gifts that have come forward in you. Everybody has got gifts. That could be, again, it could be music, it could be creative, it could be how you work with people, it could be, engineer, any number of things. Learn, explore those, and master them. And then another part is how we relate to our families, our partners, in the community that we live. And then the other one is the service that we provide, which could be our work. And when you begin to look at all of those things, they're all encircled with reality. Okay, what do I mean by that? It's the challenges that we talk about. It is what I refer to as the shadow. It's the part about ourselves that we don't know. And we could only find out by being in relationship with one another. The authenticity that I talked about is when you love somebody and in their presence you feel that something they're saying or doing isn't feeling right. You have the courage to say it out of love. Because if you don't, they don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
We just enable them. As I said, I brought up 5 kids, and you always want to make it so they don't feel any pain. But because of that, sometimes we don't give them the structure and the discipline for them to create security within themselves. So it's about telling the truth. It's about how do we go about doing that to ourselves first and foremost, but to each other.
Yeah.
So to practice takes discipline. So if you're used to doing stuff all the time and you're moving and you're going, and so it means maybe I should schedule as my highest priority some of those things that nurture me each week. So first finding out what that is, but it might be just being in the garden, taking that walk, getting out on the surfboard. What it is, it could be making love. Whatever it is that brings you back to center, that connects you, that is your most, my master used to say, the only thing that you can be selfish about is your own peace of mind. If you don't have that, you've got nothing to give to anybody. And if you are at peace, every single soul you come in contact with, you'll impart something very real to them. So that is your absolute highest priority, is finding your own peace. And you just have to explore to find out what that means for you,
Yeah.
because it's different for everybody. You
Hmm.
know, so, discipline, take some discipline.
And I guess that would it's I guess it's as people say, it's a life's journey. You know, if you find peace of mind, it needs to be worked on continuously, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's what's interesting is that even in my own life, there's times where I can find myself very disciplined, get up in the morning, sit in meditation, do my yoga, do some reading, do some work and whatever. And then sometimes I get out of bed and sometimes I get up and I don't get out of bed. I mean, it's like I used to work out in the gym a lot, and then I would do what I call the executive workout, which is I would go to the gym, I would sit in the spa, take a steam, take a shower, and go home. That was my executive. It's about balance in your life. It's about treating yourself really well.
Yeah.
It could be ice cream, it could be something, but it's about balance. It's really about balance. We're talking about in regard to this virus, it's got purpose to it. We don't have enough time with this, but let's just say it's an opportunity to wake up to what your values are, wake up to who in your life means something to you, and waking up to that understanding that we are all interconnected, interrelated, and interdependent. And once we do that, then the next part is we have to face up, grow up, and clean up. So that might be telling the truth more. It might be, it's not about me today. It's about what can I do for somebody else? It's about being in service. It's like, what do I need to clean up my own act? Do I need to go back to school? Do I need to uh, get out to work? Whatever it might be for you. So it's that growing up and that facing up to the shadow part of who we are as to why, I'm not feeling good. What's causing the fear? And then when you've gotten through that, then showing up. Now, what can I do to help somebody else? Which, like I said, the best thing we could do to be in service to others is to love a lot. So all of that, and it is a journey, and it never ends. By the way, it never ends. It's always a process. Because even if you are to get enlightened, okay, that's just step one. The law of the Bodhisattva says that unless everybody is enlightened, okay, I got work to do.
Yeah.
If there's somebody in pain somewhere, there's more work for me to do. And that's how we try to live our lives. And it's very, very, very challenging. But that's what life is.
Yeah.
That's what life is.
What I really love, what you just said is facing up, because actually now that we've all been restricted in what we can do and what we can purchase, I've really noticed that a lot of the things that I was purchasing, materialistic goods, were just unnecessary. And I think I am hopeful that other people will realise that too and stop purchasing things unnecessarily, and that will lead on to other positive things, I suppose. I don't actually know where I was going with that question.
Yeah, well, yeah, well, no, George, it's important because, and I think millennials, by the way, are beginning to get this, okay? Um, material things has pretty much determined the state we're in the world, very, very unconsciously. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with having stuff. What makes it challenging is the attachment to the stuff
Yeah.
that is really detrimental. As I've gotten older and I just appreciate what I have. So there's great gratitude in basic things, such as taking a breath in and letting it go. The fact that my arms, my legs, my body works, it's little things. But our culture has shown us, unless we have all this stuff, okay, we're not good enough. If I don't have the right sneakers or right all that. But I think that your generation is beginning to let go of that. That's my experience, and the work that I do with people is a lot about that. It's helping people through that process. by the way, not by me telling them, I'm just holding a space for them to just surrender to these understandings themselves, just being a mirror, but an honest one. It's the narrative of the medicine man. And, it's someone has to hold that space. And by the way, every single one of us can do that.
Yeah.
You say like you're an empath. I mean, everyone has capacity in some way. It's that some people come very natural to it. Sometimes it's so strong that it is simply your calling, but everybody has that capacity if they slow down enough, become still enough where they can begin to hear it and see it and feel it. And then they'll be called as to how to use it. And that's what this virus is really giving an opportunity, an invitation into a portal of what's going on in us, because as inside, so outside. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Steve. I just love how wise and I can really feel it in my soul when you speak. Actually, it's amazing. Thank you.
Well, George, I also want to say that I used to have a big knock on my head here because I'm a very slow learner and I would just walk into walls all the time. So it's like some people get this stuff really easy, especially young people. I mean, the kids that are coming onto the planet right now, these young kids, they're old souls and they're going to be needed because we got a lot of shit to handle here. For me, it's come through long lessons and some really wonderful, wonderful people in my life that didn't let me get away with stuff. I've also studied with a whole group of nuns in a Benedictine monastery that straightened my ass out really good. I have so much gratitude for so many amazing souls in my life. Really enlightened people, and I just got to hang out and listen, and that's what we need to do for each other now, and
Yeah.
to really put it out there. Hey, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling in fear, if you're feeling depressed, ask for what you need. Ask for help. Be willing to help others, and you will be helped as well. So for what you think you need, okay, help others that have that same need.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you 100% of the time you'll come through it.
Wow.
So it's yeah, and that's what right now today in the world, that is what we're being invited into. This whole pandemic thing is not, I don't care. There's a million and one, conspiracy theories for why we're here and why this happened and all. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What matters is how we now respond to this. Yeah.
Thank you. Steve, before we go, can I just ask what inspires you and what keeps you going and motivated?
Oh God. I mean, the honest, selfish answer to that is love. It's
Wow.
just love.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and the expansion of where and how I see love expands every day. As you know, here in New Zealand, we're just so fortunate to live in an unbelievably beautiful place.
Yeah.
And it's so quiet. As you know, I can, on any given day, all I hear are birds and crashing waves. That's it. Most of the world doesn't have that opportunity. But the love that I see, I mean, even through this medium, you know, um, when I see the brightness of your eyes, the inspiration in your eyes, it warms me. I just was on a call with my four brothers and sister and my mother at 95. We were in tears together, you know, uh, because of everything that's going on and how fortunate we have been to have each other and to grow up in a family that was very loving. Um, I think that the inspiration. I mean, when I get bummed out, and believe me, I get bummed out and I'll get depressed. And what I've learned when that happens, I'll just go online and I'll listen to Robin Williams, or I'll listen to Dick Gregory, or I'll listen to some fabulous music, or even the Britain's Got Talent or whatever, and I see these young people, or I see some of these old people come out on stage, and then the voice that comes out of them
Yeah.
is like mind blowing, And so it's like it helps you to remember, that it's not all doom and gloom. It's what we say it is. The two things that I'd like to impart with you is that thought is creative and you are the thinker. Okay, that's number one. You can create whatever it is you want, regardless of the limiting thoughts that we have been told. That is the truth. Okay. The other one is you've got to take 100% responsibility for yourself. You're not a victim. Nobody's doing anything to you, even though it might appear that way.
Yeah.
And if you can handle those two things, I can tell you, no matter what your circumstances are right now, you can change them.
Wow.
Just help each other do it. Support each other. Love each other. That's the bottom line.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Steve. I really appreciate that. If people wanted to contact you about any of the things that you do, how might they do that?
Well, probably the easiest way is through email. Although I'm on Facebook as well, and on LinkedIn, but email, because then I can respond.
Yeah.
And I would say to anybody that's listening to this, if you just want to have a chat, I'm happy to do that. And because the other thing I want to support people to do, I mean, I've been running a men's group for the last 10 years here. Each of you can do that. You can create your own groups, and I can send you some simple parameters that help a healthy formation of a community group. And it can be based around anything. It could be a women's group, a men's group. It could be musicians. It could be whatever, But the point is to be able to show up authentic, speak from your heart, listen compassionately, and wondrous things can happen. So, Steve, I mean, I don't know how you do this, but it can probably the easiest one is Steve at Malarin, MALARIN.com. Steve at Malarin.com.
Yep.
You can just do that, but again, Facebook or LinkedIn, or contact you, Georgie. You can put them in touch with me.
I'll
I'm
add my
happy to
Instagram
have
page.
but I do want to say that I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do that.
Well, that's very kind for you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good.